Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the End in Mind podcast. I'm your host, Caitlin, and I'm super excited about today's guest. Thanks so much for being here today, Libby.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
I am too, and I'm so happy that I was able to come on your show, which of course we can talk about. But I would love for you to first introduce yourself to our listeners, share a little bit more about who you are and what you do.
Awesome. So my name is Libby DeLucien, and I am an entrepreneur, just like every entrepreneur, 100 ideas a minute. Um, and I act fast on those ideas. So I have a home service business. I have two softwares, launching a book, comes out in September. And then I also have my personal brand as well, that we grow. And we found that by growing that personal brand, it's really helped all the other businesses. I'm a wife. I have three kids, and I think that's pretty much all about me. Live in Florida, but really excited to be here and just kind of share my journey with you.
Yeah, I'm so excited too. I didn't realize that you're in Florida. Hopefully it's warmer than it is up here today. It's like so
It's ex
cold for August.
it's extremely hot.
Is it? Okay, so we're like living in reverse worlds. Classic. So that's so interesting. Can you tell us like how you got into the software side of the business and you have the cleaning business that you
Yes.
do? Can you kind of share with us like how you got into both of these industries?
Yeah. So, I think that when your back is up against a wall, it's really when you innovate, when you think outside the box. And so I was going through a really bad divorce, separation. Um, and during that separation, I lost everything. Like he changed the locks on the house, took the kids, the cars, and I couldn't get anything. I couldn't even get my clothes. I couldn't get anything. Luckily, I found the kids 2 weeks later. Um, and long story short, ended up sitting on that curb, calling my mom and dad and my sister for help. And I learned a lot of lessons in that, like in that moment and then in that day. But from there, I didn't have anything. So I had experience. I had ran businesses before. We had a bar in Ybor City in Tampa. So I have prior business knowledge. But when you have to start all over, it can feel discouraging. So I decided to start from my experience instead of thinking I was starting all over. And what is the cheapest thing that you could go do? I actually started professional organizing first because organizers don't need any supplies. Like there's no overhead. You're just selling your skill set of being able to like break things down, help people purge, and put them back together in a pretty aesthetic system or process. So I started that in 2014 just because I needed to be able to control my time and make money. My time because I was going through a custody battle and I wanted to win, right? And so I needed to be able to pick up the kids, drop them off, be there. And then in 2014, I started that organizing business called Organize It. 2018, we added cleaning to it. And long story short, I cleaning was growing fast. Like COVID helped our business explode, and I couldn't staff it fast enough. And so my systems brain went into like hyper mode to create a process, and then I pieced together other tech to automate that process, and that is now what my recruiting software is. And it helped me staff my own company. And then I asked my industry friends, like, hey, can you try this? Can you try this? And so now we do it for hundreds of home service companies. And then that's how I got into the first software, seeing a gap in my industry and creating that solution. And then the other one is a quoting and bidding software where it helps cleaning companies quote and bid jobs. And so I got into software by complete accident. I am not a technical founder. So what that means for everybody listening is I don't necessarily know how to code. I know how to code enough to like watch a YouTube video and like string some stuff together, but or create zaps or automations. But no, I'm not a coder. And so especially for the women or the younger girls out there, if you have good ideas and you like technology, you don't have to know how to code. especially now with AI, like AI can fix anything for us. It can build the code for you. Um, you don't have to know how to code. Um, and software is a great industry. There's not very many women in it. It's easy to dominate or make a name for yourself. The revenue is really great, like the profit and the multiples you can get in software. And I think that it's not a really a utilized industry, especially for young female entrepreneurs.
Yeah, oh my gosh, that's great advice. I feel like the software industry, a lot of people don't understand it, which is why they stay away from it. Like speaking for myself, but I use software all the time. So I know how useful it is. A lot of us probably use it every day. And like for our listeners, they may not even know that it's software.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love to hear your story too. Thank you so much for taking us back and how relatable it is. My mom was also a single mom for a while there. And it was very challenging. And I remember her needing a flexible schedule because she
Yeah.
did have to come get me from school. And I was like so grateful for that. I was not a bus girl. Like I hated going to school anyway. Why would I
Yeah.
take the bus? But yeah, so that's such a great piece of what you've done. And then how your other businesses has allowed you to start multiple other opportunities and see the holes in the market. Can you share a little bit more about that and how you really realized what a hole it was outside of just your own business, when you were having difficulty staffing?
Yeah. So there's this theory, and it's a software term. It's like proof of concept. And I even tell my kids, like, I need proof of concept before I agree to anything. Go get me proof of concept. And it's pretty much like prove that this is needed. Like prove that someone will pay for this or prove that someone wants this. We see this in like as things as small as like people putting buttons in certain places to see do they click it, like on your website, like maybe your web designer's like, let's change the button, let's put it over here, like let's change the color. And so this is probably one of my biggest struggles, and it's kind of that imposter syndrome. And it's the how is anything that I make that great? Like for me, so I have what is called aphantasia. I don't know if you know what aphantasia is.
No, I
No.
don't. Do you mind sharing?
Yeah. So aphantasia is it's kind of I wouldn't even say it's a disability, but it's where I have the inability to visualize. So I do not see visions, as in like if I close my eyes and say, imagine a red apple, I don't see the red apple. I just say in a checklist form, the apple's red, check. It's round, check. It's shiny, check. I don't dream in visions. My dreams are like a story, like somebody's reading it to you. So I'm very systems based. I'm very checklist oriented. And so for me, when I created that, like the first recruiting process and I automated it, and someone asked me to come give a presentation on what I did, and the audience was like, oh my God, can you make that for me? I wasn't even selling it. And I'm like, sure. Like, it's not that great. I made it. That's probably one of my biggest still issues to this day. And I make sure I have people around me that, you know, keep me not like keep me going and don't let me fall into that imposter syndrome. But that was one of my biggest struggles. So proof of concept means a lot to me.
Yeah.
So proof of concept means it can't be that great. I made it. Let me share it with somebody. Let me share it with some industry friends. And if they love it, that's my proof of concept. Then it's not then my imposter syndrome doesn't like get me, or I don't doubt myself or question, is it really a great process? So I think where a lot of people kind of miss this is share your stuff, like share it openly, like, hey, I made this. Can you try it for me? When you're in industry mastermind groups or industry groups, to have the ability to say, like, hey, I have this idea. Can you try it? Hey, I did this. Will you test it out? Because they're in a similar industry and they're not a competitor. is super powerful. So that's kind of how I got started in software, and I saw the gap because I knew it was in my business, but having that ability to be or have friends in the same industry, they let me kind of test in their own business, and they were willing to try it.
I love it. That's so good. And obviously it worked, right? Because now
Yeah.
you're in business. So that's fantastic. In multiple businesses, I should say, because with one grew another seed. And I think that this is where a lot of business owners get stuck as well in the market research portion of their offer. It's like they just think they know exactly what their client wants. On some level, we do, right? Because our client might be that past version, which we talked about on your show. And sometimes our client is not. Sometimes our client is just someone that we met on the street and we know that we can solve their problem, right? Like with what you've been able to provide. And then out of that business, you were able to find another hole, which is
Yeah.
really cool. I love the synchronicity of it all. Now, what would you say to our listeners that are maybe struggling with proof of concept? Maybe they don't have a lot of friends. Would you say those mastermind groups are a great place to go and kind of A/B test or ask people to test out our product or service, like before we create the whole website and then have to change it all later, you know?
So my tip is don't go hire a coder for $100,000.
Okay.
Um, I kind of think those days are short-lived with AI. And so you're in marketing, like the Wix website builder, which is like not the greatest, but it gets the job done fast. It's kind of like down and dirty. They have that now for software. Like I can drag and drop and make my own app just by dragging and drop, like the old Wix style of websites. Not old, a lot of people still have it, but um, and so I think the days of like going and finding developers and fronting at least 100 grand to just start it are kind of over. You're one thing I've learned being in software. So I was in Dan Martell's boardroom group, which is like an elite group of software owners. Dan Martell bought Buy It Back Your Time. He's like super famous right now. Um, I got the front row seat to watch that unfold, which was probably one of the most amazing things I've ever seen being in his exclusive group. He wasn't that famous when I was in the group, and you're watching him do all this, and you're like, man, he did it. Like he literally did what he said he was going to do. Um, but I have the advantage of being in that group and just learning from him and, you know, learning that you're not going to compete with a group of developers over in like Asia or India, like sitting there making their own software. Like you're just not like, but they're not going to have the face to sell the software either. So there's the con of the other side of it. They're not going to have the face or the relationships or the knowing of an industry to sell it, but they're going to create a great software, but it may be missing some functionality, and there's no face to sell it. They have no relationships. So there's the con and the pro and the con. But with AI now and all of the tools, I would say don't go and just invest a ton of money. You can piece together a software using other people's softwares, right? Yeah, a Zapier. You can
Yeah.
use Google Workspace. Google Workspace has Google Scripts in there. Now you can make your own little apps. I met I think they were like a $10 million software company, and they were running on nothing but Google. Google Sheets, Google Docs. They had scripts running in there. It was a marketing company. And they finally then took the money and go built their own.
Okay.
But I think we tend to overthink it and say, so it's called bootstrapped, right? You can bootstrap it, you can piece together. Uh, and, that was my first version. So don't go spend a ton of money. Get it down, get the manual process down first on old-fashioned paper. Then, like, how can I automate it using some free tools or Zapier? And then if it works, then you're like, okay, like this is a thing. Because when I first asked my friends to try it, it was just pieced together like with WordPress, Zapier, Google Workspace. I'm trying to think what else we had in there. There's just like a whole bunch of different things. And once we saw it work, then we're like, okay, let's go make this. Gravity forms. I had like all kinds of stuff baked in there. Um, And so don't get overwhelmed in that like building process, um, strategy, ideation, like the fun thing. Like just get it down on paper. Um, and one great tip you could use is there are industry Facebook groups that would be free to join,
Yeah.
no matter what industry you're in. Like if you're in lawn care or house cleaning or roofing, or even if you're selling a service, there are industry Facebook groups. Join those and say, hey, like I have this tool. I want to know if it helped me, but I want to know if it would help the average person. And the hardest thing I think for me was you have to build it to scale. It's easy to build it for yourself, but once somebody likes it and you're like, okay, what would happen if I had 700 people using this? Is it built to scale?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. My fiance actually sells financial software. And we talk about this and the loading issues and all of the things that can happen with it getting overwhelmed. So, been there as well. Now, how did you overcome some of that as you were scaling it? Did you have to bring in some outside experts that were able to help with the volume? Just out of pure curiosity, now I'm asking that question. I feel like our listeners would want to know too, you know?
Yeah. So originally when we first started, I gave that presentation on how I created this recruiting process. And he was an industry friend. He was in the audience. His name was Paul. And he just thought it was so amazing. He was like, this is worth my whole trip here.
Wow.
And he actually had asked me if I wanted to partner with him. Oh, well, first he asked me if I would help implement this into his business. I said, sure. It was March 2020. And we all know what March 2020 was. It was like the onset of COVID. We
Yeah.
were at a conference and all of our flights got shut down. Like we couldn't even leave the conference. So I was like, sure, we have nothing to do and nowhere to go. So me and him worked on it, and that was March. We had everything up and ready by May. From like May to September, we took them from 17 cleaners, I think it was like to 32 cleaners. Um, and he's like, this was great. Like it saved me time. It was efficient. It worked. He goes, would you be interested in making this a business? And I was like, sure. I was totally a quick start. I was like, sure. And he's the one who actually helped me build it to scale, like where it was scalable, where multiple people could use it. It would fit, plug into anyone's business. And then later down the line, I hired a fractional COO, an ex-employee of like Microsoft to help us with the actual scale part, as far as growth goes.
That's really interesting. Yeah, it's like these hurdles that we all face as our business grows, you know, and what do we do when it does scale and how do we manage the team and everyone, right? So I appreciate you sharing that. I share a lot about that on the show with our listeners in my own experience.
Well, we only know what we know. Like you don't know what you don't know. And I think that scares a lot of people into not growing or not pursuing something. My solution has become let me just pay for that, not like let me pay someone to come in. Like fractional's huge right now. Like if your husband or boyfriend is in finance, right? There's fractional CFOs, which didn't exist really for
Yeah.
years ago. Um, and so fractional is huge, and I really like fractional. So if I'm not ready to like pay somebody full time, I could bring in someone for a fraction of the time that I could afford that could help me get through this bottleneck or hurdle or thing I'm scared of. Like I never knew how to run a software. That's why we hired the COO. I'm like, I have no clue what I'm doing. That's how I got in Dan Martell's group. I didn't know what I was doing, so I sought a mastermind group, a coach to help me run a software.
Yeah, yeah, it's really about like hiring the right people, finding the right people for the price that works for our business at that time as well, which
Hmm.
I think a lot of business owners are feel fearful to touch on, you know. I all of my team members, and I say this to every client that joins me as well, they are 1099. Like I do not hire employees yet. That's just not something that I'm ready to commit to. So I appreciate you sharing that as well. And especially as you're needing more advice, it's like fractional is the best way to go in my mind. I feel like they get the best of both worlds, where they get paid and I'm not like breathing down their neck every 5 seconds. So,
Yeah, and they also bring a knowledge of wealth. Like
yeah,
I could never afford uh, the COO for Microsoft full time, like never. So he's actually making more money being a fractional because he's charging me a little bit more than the average Joe because he's not average. But I'm getting for him for a fraction of the price. But I could never afford full time that level of expertise and the ability to bring it in. And also with fractional, you can scale up. So like if I can only afford them for like a 10-hour block, and then when we grow into it, maybe I get a 12-hour block or 14, right? It's however his blocks work. And then that way you can grow into it if you need more and more. And the whole point of a fractional is that they come in and help set up whatever department, whether it's finance or operations, or I've even had a marketing CFO, a fractional marketing CFO, um, CMO, not CFO. Um, they help you prepare that role, and they're only supposed to be there like 1.5 to 2 years max
yeah.
and help you find that full-time replacement. So then the fact that I don't even have to interview or hire that person, they'll help me do it. That's part of the job is also really good.
Yeah, that's like the best of both worlds, like before they exit. Yeah,
Mhm.
my agency has done that for a few clients of ours. And we helped facilitate and coach them. It was actually so fun because you're like passing the baton and you're so happy for your client at the same time because they've grown and it's like the work that you've done has helped them. So it really is the best of both worlds. If you don't mind, I want to go back to something that we talked about on your podcast that you shared when you were talking about your businesses. And that was your personal brand and how much that specifically has helped your other businesses grow. Can you share a little bit more about that and your perspective? I really want our listeners to take notes on exactly what you're going to say here.
Yeah. I'm like, oh gosh, what did I say? No. Again, we're going to go back to being in Dan Martell's group. He was very, very adamant that his board members um, really push their personal brands. So to get into the boardroom, like you had to have an executive assistant, you had to be $2 or $3 million. There were certain criterias, but once you're in there, like you had direct access, and it was so interesting to learn like the personal brand and how does this influence your businesses or multiple businesses. So if you're a true entrepreneur, you're always going to have another business. Most entrepreneurs don't just have one. um, whether it's a nonprofit or an actual business or like a side hustle or a book, we're always doing something. Um, and so the emphasis on building that personal brand, because no matter what happens, say your business closes, it bankrupts, COVID destroys it, you sell it, right? You still have your brand and that reputation. So anything else you stack onto that is already like ahead of the game. So I thought that was really interesting. And then, that whole philosophy is like people buy from people. And they do. And that's why you see like Nike had Michael Jordan, right? Gatorade has endorsements of people with faces because people buy from people. And we struggled for a long time with the softwares because we were just like promoting the software name and the business page but there was no face. There was no because most people don't rally around a brand, right? You don't get a brand, it's really hard to get followers. That's why you see the Alex and Layla Hermosis and Cody Sanchez's of the world promoting from their name, not their brand. And then once you click on their name and you start getting in there, then you see the name, right? And so for us, it was weird. I knew I wanted to do it. But again, it goes back into that like imposter syndrome. Like, who do you think you are? um, or telling my marketing team, okay, guys, we're going to spend 70% of the money and time on my personal brand, almost felt selfish. And I was like, oh, what are they going to say? Like I knew why I wanted to do it. I learned from some of the best, but then like actually doing it, I drug my feet for a little while. And one, we've learned since it's cheaper. From a marketing perspective, it's cheaper because it's easier for me to get followers and engagement, and I can talk about real pain and struggles from a voice. And so my brand, my personal brands, I have a whole persona, like how I look. It includes hat and earrings. Um, to how I'm supposed to show up. So I show up consistently. People recognize that, like me. And it's fun. The other day, we were in Mexico City traveling, and literally someone stopped me on the street for a picture. And they're like,
Wow.
I recognize you from your hat. And I'm like, you know, and I'm like, no, not famous by any means. And I was just like, totally seriously. I was like, I told the girls, yeah, I follow you on Instagram or Facebook or something.
Wow.
Um, and so it was a real interesting learning lesson looking at the budget and engagement and like followers. It was so much easier to get those followers on a personal page, like a name. We found that the marketing was it was way more effective for awareness marketing. And then we kind of funneled them down from top of funnel awareness to then like middle funnel. Hey, I'm an expert. Download my free this or that. And then that's when we flipped it to the business brand. But it actually was more cost effective. And then the other thing is once you build that personal brand, you get a lot of opportunities.
Yeah.
I now have opportunities coming to me to like, hey, I have this idea, but I don't have the face to sell it. Can I give you a portion of the company?
Wow. Yeah. It's
And
amazing.
I'm like, really? Um, and then any other business, like I said, you spin up will automatically have credibility based off of what you've built.
Yeah, wow. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for like explaining the pyramid of what the personal brand can really do for a business owner that maybe a lot of us business owners listening are not taking the marketing action because they are scared of showing their face, which we also talked about last time we connected. And I remember that you shared something which really stuck with me about how powerful the face of the brand is and like how powerful the personal brand is. I feel like what you described said it perfectly. Is there anything else that you'd like to share about that in particular if our listeners are maybe also dragging their feet to make that transition?
Is that your company has a face whether you want it to or not. And if you're not showing yours, um, and you're hiding because you don't like the camera or you don't like to, you're doing your business a disservice, right? It's to me, it's going to have a hard time reaching its full potential. Everybody sucks at first. Like I watch some of my first videos, and you're supposed to suck. It's part of the learning process.
Yeah.
So start now and get them over with. Like the videos, the pictures, and you know, it's one of those things where it sounds so mean. I don't care if you want to. I don't care if you don't like the camera. I don't care. Like it's what your business really needs.
It really is. It's the bottom line, right? There's nothing else that, especially for the listeners who I know that there's a lot of you out there that have had your business for a long time. You feel like it's not working. Libby is literally telling you all this is what possibly quite literally changed her trajectory of all of her businesses. Like it's coming from her. She's here sharing with us exactly what it is. And I've been saying this for years as well, like personal brand over everything. I just am a firm believer in that. So thank you so much for
Well,
sharing.
the other thing it helps is it builds trust, and your future buyers literally feel like they know you already. So it helps with conversion, right? It makes much easier to convert. So for the listeners, I don't know if they're just selling like straight services, if they go into a demo or a strategy. So with my house cleaning, people know me in town because I'm like the orange lady. That's our color or logos. And employees think they already know me because they see me all over social media. Demos for the software. One software has a demo, the other one doesn't. It goes straight to purchase. We have higher conversion rates now because the demos come in and they already like resonate with us. You also attract a better quality lead when you lead with your personal brand. And then it helps retention of customers because they feel that connection, right? That buy-in, and you've built that trust.
Yeah, it's so true. Thank you so much again. Because building trust, I think, is the hardest thing to do in today's market because we are competing with so many other people. But the personal brand is the answer, to all of our probably issues, especially for us that have had our businesses for a long time. Like some of our listeners have had their businesses for 5 years and it's only been a side hustle. So
Yeah.
making this transition could be exactly what could get
Well,
next
I
level.
think it's even more important now than ever because of AI.
Yeah.
And I love AI. Um, but the ability to write a blog now, to make a Facebook post, um, to create content has become lightning speed. And so the majority of your competitors aren't going to get in front of a camera, right? That's your differentiator, right? That's your competitive advantage. And with AI now, everyone's an expert. Everybody's an expert. And so to me, the way you stand out and the way you change that is by really leaning into that personal brand.
Yeah, yeah. And like you said, you have your staples, your earrings, your hat,
Yeah.
so much so that somebody recognized you. Like I can tell you, no one's ever come up and said anything, but I'm at like our local grocery store and you kind of get those looks where people are like double taking, like, I think I know you. And you're like, I've never met them before. Like that's
Yeah.
when that you are starting to gain the awareness that you want, in your company. So congratulations. I'm so happy for you. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Oh, amazing. Well, I love today's episode. Is there anywhere where our listeners can connect with you, follow, learn more from you? I feel like you're just a wealth of knowledge. If you could just drop all that information. And then for our listeners that are multitasking, all the links are in the show notes below, or message me and I will also personally connect you with Libby too.
Yeah, absolutely. Believe it or not, I'm the only Libby DeLucien in the world.
I love
Um,
it. That's,
so great for branding, but you can go to
yeah.
libbydelucien.com or libbyd.com because my last name is hard to spell.
I love it. That's great. And where can we find you? You're on Instagram too, right? All the
Yes, I'm on
platforms.
all the socials and it's literally my name, Libby DeLucien. I have every handle.
Yay. Oh my gosh, I love it. That's awesome. Any other parting words that you have for our listeners before we go here?
Um, I think, and this might sound weird, but building that personal brand doesn't just lean into your businesses. It also really leaves a legacy for the people around you, whether you have children, family, because believe it or not, that social media content, all these videos are going to be like a vault of you and your thoughts and your ideas and your strategy and your pain and your glory will all be documented. And what better gift to give a spouse or a child or a grandchild than a vault of your knowledge when you're not here anymore?
Wow, that's so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. I really appreciate it. I've never looked at it that way, but that just really tugged on my heartstrings. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank
You're
you
welcome.
for coming on. I had the best time.
Thank you for having me.